It was Saturday. It was the day of rest. Seriously. However, I had an emergency to attend to and I had to get it done today. No pay for yet another fortnight had resulted in me borrowing a smalls from my sister in the UK to tide me over until another fortnight arrived, and with it my hope of being paid. Finally, you see, 3 fortnight salaries were outstanding, and boy, my patience was wearing thin. I was down to my last taxi fare. My purse was empty except for that. No, then, the sun was blooming and all was well for the time being. I had earlier received the 8-digit reference number and was in the process of getting ready to go to town to collect my money. My list had been made mentally, if not on paper. There was partner to be paid. Check. I can't afford to start owing already. I had just newly joined this partner scheme. Debt, debt to my nephew. Check. That was inclusive of him buying the new lock for my bedroom door. Wage for the lady who looks after my daughter in the afternoons? Check. She was 3 weeks overdue. And then my little shopping in the supermarket? Check. Yes, my mind could be at ease for now. And if any discomfort should arise, I could always dream of the lump sum to be paid in 2 weeks' time. As if. I sang lustily as I made my ablutions. Soon I was now ready to walk my half-mile journey to the square to get a taxi when lo and behold, a shower of rain blasted from the wide blue skies. It lasted for nearly 15 minutes. I sat and fumed silently. I secretly worried that this must be divine intervention for breaking the Sabbath. At last, the rain vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared, and the sun shone again. I rolled up my white trousers legs as best as I could and made my way out. The sun shone with a vengeance, and I skirted puddles, but all was well again. Finally, I made it to the square, splashless, and eased under a shop pacer to await the taxis. You see, this was a popular route, and I knew that one would soon cruise by. 5 minutes crept by, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. By now, nuggets of fear were crawling up and down my spine. I had mentally earmarked the Jane branch in town for my collection point, and I knew that closing time was near. Half an hour ticked by, and still no taxi to town. My heart was now up in the beat. I did not want the bank to close on me, and to make matters worse, the rain clouds were hovering again. Finally, when I thought that all was lost, Mas V came into sight with his battered station wagon. I quickly hopped in, and away we sped to town as fast as the pothole-riddled roads would allow. Notwithstanding the many bumps and bank riding to avoid some of the yawning pothole traps, we arrived in town. I peered into JN and saw a long line of customers. My heart quickened and I alighted post haste and dashed to the entrance. I grabbed the door and pulled hard. And that's when I saw some of the customers inside staring blankly at me. In my zeal to get inside, I failed to notice the lock was in place. My eyes flew to the opening and closing times emblazoned on the door. Saturdays, 12:30 p.m. I grinned shamefacedly and made an about turn. My mind worked furiously. Where else could I go? NCB was closed, the post office similarly. A supermarket nearby, which had previously offered this money transfer service, had bitten the economic dust. You see, I was so fixated on getting to JN that the thoughts of going to other MoneyGram agents did not even dawn on me. Light bulb! There was an agent further in the town. Problem solved. I tripped gaily towards this location and entered the room. The line was longish, but I could afford to wait. I counted. I was number 7 in line. To occupy my time, I studied the occupants in the line ahead of me. Most wore a hardened expression that spoke of rough times. I got the distinct impression that a smile would crack their permanent mask into pieces that could not be repaired. I felt their pain. A tall, slimish, dark-skinned woman in the line ahead kept a running commentary with an older man standing to one side. She had nicely braided hair and a protruding stomach that inflated the waistband of her jeans. I wondered at the relationship. Slowly, the line inched. Idly, I read the signs and notices posted. Huh. There was a doctor advertising his services at a nearby plaza. There was a plaque from the Lasco Company to this agent for meritorious services for the previous financial year. I wondered about that as I looked at the teller's face being so sour. Could it be that they had that many customers coming to visit here with her at the counter? They were refurbished computers selling upstairs for $23,000. Just then, a sound broke my concentration. There was a short, dark woman at the counter. She hissed her teeth loudly. I since when una need TRN? Me go bank yesterday go collect the same MoneyGram and they never asked me for it. She hissed her teeth again and stamped from the counter. Persons in the line were now commenting loudly. I wonder if me did bring mine, a person behind me said. I silently pondered too and thought how silly I was in exchanging handbags. Here was a tired, blue blouse, blue handbag to fit. Would I appear daily for this fashion statement? My trusty black handbag for work usually carried all my documents. Did I err in going for fashion today? My penniless state flashed before my eyes. I wondered who I could trust a drive from. Which taxman on my route could I trust the fare to go back home to collect it? I searched frantically in my bag, and lo and behold, my driver's license came up. That had my TRN. I smiled again. Other persons in the line were not as fortunate as I was. A lady behind me dialed furiously on her cell phone. The person on the other end responded. She begged Sandra desperately, bring me TRN. She pinpointed where the handbag was and the exact location in the bedroom at home. She also explained her position in this line. Before hanging up, she beseeched, Sandra, come now, me no want lose me space in the line. Oh my, I thought. Sandra must not be too far away then. Further back in the line, another lady had a dilemma of a different kind. She had no ID. How me manage to left me passport, she lamented. Her next statement forced my brain into overdrive. The devil's strong, you see. I instantly pictured the usual pitchfork person in a corner of a boxing ring with Mike Tyson at the other end. My mind's eyes bulged at the devil's thigh muscles in boxer shorts. If those pictures are to be believed, he'd definitely need a few days in the intensive care of a gym. Would Mike Tyson deliver a total knockout in the first round? I decided against prematurely betting on Mike Tyson, as that same fellow, the one carrying the pitchfork, that sneaky devil, was out of this world. Look at his unthinkable feat that he accomplished in the Garden of Eden with Eve. However, I returned to the present when this same lady moaned, "Oh, what me I go do?" I was now two places in the line from the teller's counter. I smiled hugely in anticipation of collecting those dividends. Suddenly, the place was plunged into darkness. JPS had done it again. My heart dipped in tune too. My earlier thoughts of crediting that taxi drive back home flashed before my eyes. Two shakes though, the lights blinked, and all was well again. My heart resumed normal functioning. In due time, I reached the counter, proffered my completed form and ID across that to her, and duly collected my check, my cash. It wasn't much, but it would fill a gap and save face here and there. I counted the bills lovingly and plucked a few thousands from the pile. I pocketed the rest carefully and exited the MoneyGram store. My day was not lost, in spite of all that I had endured. Was it my imagination, or was the sun shining brighter than ever? The end.